What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex, and I'm joined by the one, the only Mike Vaughn. We're here to talk about MTV Scream. We teased it, not really, even because I made an entire video on it. So he is the voice of the killer. I do, just want to start off by saying how much I appreciate, the opportunity, and also want to thank, the people at home because without you, this isn't possible. So, Mike, thank you, for doing this, and also thank you for obviously the work on the show.
No, thank you. Sorry, it's not my real voice. Okay.
Well, we'll get into that, but I mean, I think, and we talked about this a little off screen. So we're gonna do a couple different things. I have some things I want to ask, and I asked people write in their comments, and you guys
Chime in.
did that. We got a lot of comments, and I think one of the things that I think is so important is I guess, the reputation of the show. Seemed like back then, I think people enjoyed it, but I don't think they enjoyed it as much as recently. It seems like, and we've made some videos even on the channel on Scream the movie and then Scream the TV show, and the show has quite its fans, fans that really liked it, and I think maybe that's even powered more on season 3, wanting an actual return to it. So I don't know. I guess we can just kind of start at the beginning. What was it like, working on it? What's been kind of the reception of the fans to it? Is it what you're kind of most known for? Things like that.
It was one of my most favorite projects I've ever done. It was also incredibly fast and efficient. I've never been part of a TV show or film that worked that quick. It was one audition, literally one audition, and then my agents and the booth director, knowing the casting director, and the casting director was completely lost, and it was down to two of us, and you just got a recommendation like, just listen to Mike's again, he nailed it. And then next thing I know, I'm in the studio. The director was there, the initial showrunner for season 1, and we just established what, kind of, it was basically what I did. It was like,
Yeah.
okay, there's your character. Okay, good. Fine tune it like this, more cat and mouse, toy with him more. Great. That was about the only note I got. We rolled with it. I think I saw that director maybe one more session after that and never saw him again. And it was just me and the post-production supervisor and all the audio crew. And I was in and out in an hour, sometimes doing multiple episodes, reading the scratch track off the producer's iPhone. Like,
Yeah.
and then sometimes that would go to air. Like,
Right.
so efficient. It was so wonderful. The one thing I can say about it is it was also very hidden. None of the actors knew if there was going to be a season 2. None of us knew. None of our agents knew. We knew nothing, and I don't think production had heard from the buyers, I guess Viacom, MTV. So there was no notice. And then season 2 came a year later, and they're like, "Okay, let's do it again." And we're like, "Oh, okay, we're doing this again." Like, I got called in after they were already shooting, which was crazy.
Right.
So we had no idea. Then pure silence, nothing. So all the actors move on to other projects. So they're gone. Nobody's available.
Yeah.
And then season 3, we hear about, but they never asked us, no contact, nothing. And it's none of the same. It's a whole different production company, whole different deal.
Right.
I do know that MTV never really promoted Scream that much,
Yeah.
like they did other shows. So I guess they weren't sure about it. Then the Weinstein controversy happened, and it was a Weinstein project. So who knows if that played into it. And then we've just heard nothing since. And so I want to know from you what you think the re-interest is. Is it because of COVID and we're locked down and they found a series? Is it because it's a series? What do you think? I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, well, I think I don't know how recently, right, it started because maybe of Scream 5. So Scream 5 really started the anticipation for it last like September. I feel
Hmm.
like that's probably helped, and I feel like kind of just the build of anybody that probably does see it now. I truly do. And even coming from me, right, and even from like the people watching, like I've talked about Scream, but the show I didn't watch the show until like 3 weeks ago. I never saw
Okay.
1 or 2 or Resurrection, which I don't want to talk about. I never watched those back in the day. And so I just watched it. I watched, I think I saw like maybe the most infamous phone call, which we'll talk about with Emma in terms of like the security agent. I saw that. I saw some parts of it, but I never watched it all the way through. And I feel like just watching it now, it's like with maybe zero expectations or zero living in the moment, it's like this holds up. Not only does it hold up, it's probably better now. I saw a lot of
It's
people
it's
even
it's
with,
incredibly violent for
yeah,
cable TV. I was like, holy
yeah.
shit.
I did.
Yeah.
I didn't even think of it too much because I rewatched the movies around Halloween time and just for like the
Hmm.
channel. Then I watched the show and it's like, yeah, like it lines up. And it's like, and I didn't even really think of it almost as a show, even though and I think the elements of the TV show make it special. That even with like Emma, who I see a lot of people have talked about her as a character, and a lot of people have said when they watched it they hated her, but then over time they started to realize like, no, she's actually deep. It's a great character. Working with that PTSD, which your character right kind of haunts her, and specifically like in season 2, and I think that's special because you don't get that, weirdly enough, as much as people, and I don't think it's unfair. Like the movies are probably, more liked, but you don't really see impact from death on these characters, but you do in the show. Like when
Yeah.
they lose a character, you feel, and even like you have
Mhm.
time to play with it, and you don't in the movies, which is interesting. So I think the highlights
Well,
of
Roger
this,
didn't in the movies.
right? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, 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 yeah. We'll get to that a little, but no, I think those elements, those strong elements that can only happen in a show, like make it stronger. And that's there. I mean, there's weaknesses, but there's a lot of strengths, in that show. So
Well,
uh,
you're interesting. My interaction, my limited interaction with fans on Instagram and the YouTube clip is they seem to be. I don't encounter a lot of guys like you where you're fans of the movie, you found the TV series. It's usually they just talk about the TV series. There's not a lot of talk about the
well, that's
movies
funny.
other than Roger Jackson kicks your ass, blah 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 blah,
Oh my
blah
god, yeah,
whatever. So it's just like whatever.
right.
Um, and so I don't see a lot of crossover between the movie and the TV as far as fandom goes. But of course, I have very limited
Yeah, I
interaction.
think I think
So
there's a lot. And well,
really,
and speaking of Roger, so and I get it. I get it. I also want to ask you though and talk about it a little bit because I think your voice was maybe one of the easier things to ease into the show. You have the characters and it's like, well, you're not Sydney, you're Noah's not Randy, but he kind of is. And your character, your voice is a lot like Roger. Now, and I actually have to ask you that. So your voice is like him. I love your voice, by the way. I love the way they did it in the show. But was there an attempt of mimicking, like they wanted it, or is just that's how it played out?
nope, nothing.
Yeah,
Honestly, it was like I said,
just
it
the
was
cat and mouse idea. Like,
well that was the direction from the director.
yeah,
I'm so sorry. I'm so bad at remembering names from projects
it's
years
okay.
ago. They were great. I loved the crew. And he just wanted me to up the toy playing rather than try to be scary. I've got my own actor tools and how
Right.
I approach things. But basically, I got the audition, and it was the Drew Barrymore scene, the classic scene. That
Yeah.
was my audition, and I'm
Wow.
like, well, fuck. I'm not gonna.
Yeah.
No, I'm not gonna imitate this. Hell no.
Yeah.
Literally, what I did, I was in LA at the time. I got the audition at night. I'm like, I'm tired. I'll get this in the morning. I'll just read my auditions on my iPad outside. I literally had a scotch, a Glenmorangie, and a cigar, and I'm just out reading my scripts. And I'm like, wait a minute. This is the freaking scene from Scream. Okay, dummy, you're gonna overthink this. You can't mimic it. I literally went, fuck it. I put down my stuff. I went up into my booth that night. It was like 11 o'clock at night or midnight. I flipped on my gear and I just did the scene in one take. And I just did it my way. I'm like, fuck it. I didn't look up the scene again. I didn't do anything. I'm just like, okay, this is what's on the page. This is what I would want to do with it.
Yeah.
And I just twisted the knife. All I did was like twist the knife and dig,
Right.
dig, 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 and just do my thing. Of course, play the nice guy at first and then flip it. Fine.
Yeah.
Literally, I woke and I said, okay, I'm not going to edit this now. This is probably a piece of crap, but at least I spit it out and I had fun. I just
Right.
had fun. And so usually I overthink it and edit it, as you can see behind me. Um, and and this time I was like, nah, I'll just wake up in the morning with a fresh head and listen to it and probably redo it or see what happens. I woke up the next morning and I was like, oh, this is fucking awesome, which I never do. And I'm like, fuck it, send it. And off it went. And next thing I know, like 2 weeks later, hey, you booked the gig, da 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 da, and off I went.
Yeah.
So it was just a matter of me doing what I would want to do. And I honestly hadn't recalled that scene in so long, and I did not review it because the one thing I don't want to do is be like an impressionist or
Right.
try to do that. If they wanted him, they would have got him,
Yeah.
and I'm sure he would have been like, yeah, right on. Don't know why they made the decision they made. I don't know why they booked me as Spider-Man in 2008. I'm like, are you guys nuts? But again, my best gigs come with the most efficiency. It's like one audition and I book a
Yeah.
amazing gig. the stuff that takes like 7 takes, it always ends up being 7 auditions or 7 callbacks, always ends up being a project. So
Right.
the good stuff is always done by good people.
Yeah.
And they never said, oh, sound more like Roger. It never came up. And then they brought Roger back for season 3, the
Yeah.
different production company, and that's perfect. I mean, that's
I
what we're there for. Roger and
right.
I are in the same category,
Yeah.
but I think we're different in a lot of ways. He can be a nice guy. I cannot be a nice guy. I am not but I struggle with the pet adoption ads and the hospital ads. Oh, I struggle with that because I'm just a mean son of a bitch. So no, I'm more likely to chop your head off.
No, I think honestly it worked really well, and the more because and another thing with the show element is like you get a lot more. There are episodes where it's like entirely no calls, and it's actually kind of weird because it's screen. But I think ultimately you're
Not
definitely in it.
many. I think there's only one. I got paid for every episode, so there
Oh, okay.
was
Well, they're
something. No, I got
very.
paid for I got paid for
In the
every
grand
episode of
scheme of
season
like
one.
43 minutes, they don't seem like a lot, but I think they add up really like a bit where you
Yeah.
get a lot more of just the killer's
Yeah.
voice, and I think you can. There's just more to it, and I think it adds to the element
The
of the
whole
show.
time my wife and I were watching the series, the whole time I'm thinking, kids don't freaking call each other anymore. What the hell? But how can you make a text scary?
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
just
No,
like, this makes no
you need
sense.
to do it. It needs to do it. So when it comes, I only have a couple more, and we'll get because I think a lot of people ask better
Yeah.
questions than I could. So you said so for Scream one. I was trying to or season one. Now
Season one.
I have to be very careful, right?
Yeah.
Well, number one, you say it's just all like voice like booth stuff. So you've never have you seen like interacted with the people that you're talking to
So it's
like
all
Will or
done. Everything I do is done after what's called picture lock, after they've edited everything how they want it. And sometimes they put in a temporary track where my voice would go. So I have a very specific time
yeah
slot to fill. And so we go into this it was called Wildfire at the time. It's no longer around, but it was a big audio production studio, big room, dark with the big screen and the little tiny mic in the middle of the room. And you go in and you match what's on the screen and you're directed with guys behind you in their room, in their control room. And once in a while, I ran into the guy that played Jake, I think. I ran into him. I ran into the guy at the end that was the killer.
yeah
Who else did I meet? I just meet them in passing because they're there to fix their lines. So
right
they go in the studio to replace lines or add words or sentences or whatever. And they were always scheduled before me. I was always last. And so they would come in and do theirs, and then I'd say, "Hey, how's it going?" And we'd chat a little bit and then leave. But that studio, I had a run in with somebody that not part of Screen that my jaw just dropped. We had a little scuffle over who's sitting at what booth out in the lobby, and this guy comes up to me and goes, "Are you sitting there filling out your paperwork?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm just gonna be a second." He goes, "Well, I was gonna take a nap there," and I go, "Well, then you go right ahead." And I moved out. It was freaking Warren Beatty. Like
wow
Warren Beatty came up to me and did this, and I was looking at this guy. I'm like, God damn, this guy's good looking. Like, what the fuck? He's like 60 something, 70 something. I'm like, damn. And I'm just like, yeah, man. So we had a little tit a tat, and that was really fun to see a huge celeb like that messing with
nice
me. That was great. But it was a great little studio, and you just go in, bang out your lines scene by scene, and you don't see the rest of the film. And I never got the script. I wasn't
right.
allowed to touch a
That's
script.
that was actually going to be the next one. So it's not like people not believing you because I think they do. So what's it? I guess even for this, see, I don't know how it works for like Roger Jackson. How does it work for you when? Because I watched a video of yours back like 5 or so years ago where you were talking about even like Scream one, season one. So you at that time, there's like one killer. Like I would imagine the cast thinks there's one killer, right? But then in terms of being a TV show and becoming bigger for season two, there's another killer. So in your voicing, how do
Mhm.
you? What you say maybe limited direction. How do you for one it's Piper and then for two it's Kieran, but you have to imagine there's elements.
I
You know what I mean?
I had no idea who the killer was, and they
Yeah.
didn't want me to know because they didn't want me to adjust my voice to give it away.
Okay.
So
Do you think that's a
they were
just
very
honestly
smart about that.
reflecting back? Do you think that's a good move, or do you think
Yeah.
that yeah
Yeah, if that's what they wanted, if they didn't want any indication of who the caller is, that's a genius move.
Yeah.
And when I direct talent, sometimes giving them less information is better. My technique is like, let's just hear what you got.
Yeah.
Let the actor bring something to the table, see what happens, then see what happens. I never asked, hey, who's the killer? Hey, who's that? It was
Yeah.
more about acting directions, which is what am I trying to get out of um, Bex? What am I trying to get out of Willow? What am I trying to get out of these characters? Am
Yeah.
I trying to terrify them? Am I playing with them? Am I winning the scene? Am I losing the scene? That simple.
Yeah.
So, and I could see how they felt and what they were doing, and then I react accordingly. So
Right.
I'm by myself, but I'm reacting to them edited. So I
Right.
gotta like hustle.
Yeah. No, that,
You have a lot of jobs to do. You have to read. You got to know what you're going to say, right? Pretty much get what you're going to say, and then you got to use your eyes to watch them, and then in your mind you got to know how much time you have to go from beep 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 go to
right.
beep 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 done. And so it's a lot of
Yeah.
it's the most fun work there is, but it's also pretty hard.
Yeah. No, I was thinking about that strategy or like the way that it works because right before we got on, I watched the security phone call again. I was trying to imagine, like you literally just said, trying to fit everything in. It's actually kind of amazing how well it all works, together. And even to what you said, is you don't know the killers, but what's odd and kind of cool is like when they are revealed, it's like yeah, you could see them. Yeah, even though it's
Mm,
maybe not exactly how maybe they would talk, but maybe it is. In fact, for the show's mythology, it is them talking, right? And it's
yeah.
like it kind of just works out. Like you can imagine it being Piper or Kieran or whatever. What about
Yeah,
the
that's up to the show producers and runners and writers to figure out like
right?
how that's going to play out at the end. If I had known it was Piper, I probably would have adjusted and that would have been bad,
Yeah,
you know. That probably
yeah.
would
It's
not
you
have
gotta be
been.
it's gotta be careful. And I think
Mm,
even rewatching the movies 1 through 4, like
mm.
there is a difference I would say between like Billy and Stu. Stu's really only one phone call, but you can tell that there is some like a subtle difference in Rogers how he kind of delivers it. What about I don't even know if you remember this, but
Maybe.
what about the I guess besides the Halloween special, the final call to Kieran with
Uh,
"Hello, Kieran, who told you you could wear my like anything
I
with that in
I
terms of direction?"
no, we all just loved that final scene. I think that was my final line entirely. I think
Yeah,
that was the last line I ever uttered for the show. Loved it.
yeah.
Love, 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 love that scene. That was the most fun to play. Was just like, oh, I get the
now
final
now you really don't know
twist.
who
I
it
get
is,
the
so you
final
can do whatever.
twist.
Yeah,
So that was incredibly fun. But I have no. I'll tell you
yeah,
this too, the writers didn't know who the killer was going to be
yeah,
for that. Everybody's like, oh, it's got to be so and so on the phone. It's got to be Brandon J. Blah, blah, blah. It's got to be so and so. Nope. Nobody knows. Nobody wrote it. Nobody figured it out because when you do, when they did this show, it's my understanding they didn't work on it until the show was ordered, and
yeah.
then season 3 was never ordered from them.
Right.
So nobody went ahead and figured that out.
Yeah.
Maybe the writer had an idea. Nah.
Yeah.
And then it's
Those.
all new
Yeah.
scene for season 3, all new,
Those are
all
the
new.
things that are best just imagining that they knew what they were. Because then if you say, well, they don't know, it's like, yeah, that kind of takes away from. But obviously, that is the way it
you
works,
you
especially with
fans
that.
you fans do a better, more thorough job
Oh,
of imagining storylines sometimes than
yep.
what is reality.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so much, fan fiction
I
with other
believe it.
series and things. Fans are invested. I'll give you
Yeah.
that. But yeah, you guys, you give me too much credit. I didn't do that scene with Willa in one take. It was like
Right.
I went to when she talks next, and then we start over, and then I talk.
Yeah.
And you're giving the writers and the producers
No.
way too much credit.
And I think, but that scene, even with the writers and with you, that's a super cool scene because that is, and I don't know if I want to make the assumption that the reason why people like that maybe more or so much compared to the rest is maybe that is the most Scream about the show. But I
Mm,
again, like going back to the thing, like I appreciate. I'm not saying it to say it. I mean, I have plenty of criticisms, of the show, but I think in terms of making its own unique thing. That scene was very much movie Scream, but a lot of the other stuff, even like because that's not the first phone call to her. She's like in the street with, and so that was the first one.
yeah,
And it's like you just get a lot of different. Like you said, are you winning one or is it like what's the situation?
right.
They're all different. And I like I like that. That scene's more hearkening to the movies, and maybe that's why people like it.
Yeah,
But
it was an homage. It was an homage to the
yeah,
to remind you that this is related.
Yeah,
this is a cousin. This is
yeah,
this is Scream the movie, neighborhood adjacent. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, it's down the
so,
street.
yeah.
Final thing before we get to their questions. Season 3, like an actual season 3, not Resurrection. Yeah, no. Would you? Not even that, because I know the answer would be, well, two things. I want to bring it up because I don't expect an answer. But I do want to bring it up in terms of there is a person out there who knows his stuff that did talk about that there could be one, which I'll leave
What are
it
you talking
there.
about? There is a season 3 for Scream. What are you talking about?
No, don't even bring it up.
There
And,
is.
well, but it is technically officially Scream Resurrection. I'd like to just assume if they ever
Whoa, back up. What are you talking about? So there was a season 3 for Scream, the TV series, but it was on VH1, and it was a totally different production company. I believe it was done
6
out of
episodes.
Atlanta, and they brought back Roger Jackson, and it was a totally. I don't think anybody from seasons 1 and 2,
Yeah,
crew or cast, is over on 3. I think
yeah,
it's separate
it's
deal,
on
right?
three.
Is
Yeah,
that? Are we on the same page there?
yeah.
Is that
I
right?
think I
Am I crazy? Am I in another
no,
universe?
you got it. You got it. No, but I think it's I don't know
You don't want
because
to talk
like if
about
you go
because
on
you don't like it? Is that what you're saying?
no, if you go on like their Twitter, Google,
They're
it's
saying
like
there's another season coming?
it's like season 3 / Resurrection is what that
Oh.
with Roger. That's what it's called Scream Resurrection though. That's like
Oh,
that was the tagline to it. So people when we talk about season 3, they want like Lakewood, you guys back. Like that's that's what
you're talking about bringing Lakewood back for another
yeah.
run.
Yeah.
You,
My question to you, because I know my question to you is, would you do it? That's simply it. Would it be like if they said, yeah?
of
Just
course,
want to
any
get that
actor
on
that
the
tells you
record.
they're not going to do something is fucking lying, especially a voice actor. We got plenty of time to do shit. Of course, I'll do it if they ask me. I don't.
Yeah.
Your money's as green as everybody else's. My kids got to eat. But I do know the on-camera cast for seasons 1 and 2. I know they've moved on to bigger, better things.
Oh yeah, yeah.
They might want to do it. They might not be available.
Yeah, no, it'd be tough.
So,
I don't want to kid. I'm not kidding myself. I'm not kidding anybody else. The only thing anybody with optimism has is literally one person's rumor, who the guy's well liked and stuff. But even the rumor for itself is basically they're looking at it and they want to talk to the cast to get contracts out, and that's pretty much the only thing.
That's a sweet notion.
Yeah.
There's a lot of cast. I don't know who's left after all the deaths, but on-camera actors, look, us voice actors, we can, and I do on-camera, but not nearly as much as I do VO. VO, I mean, I told you I did multiple episodes in 1 hour. So yeah, I'm available. Fuck, I'll leave the set and go do it. But an on-camera thing, takes months.
Yeah, it'd be quite a overhaul to get them.
Yeah, and if they're locked up in another series, or maybe they left the biz, or they're doing something else, it's too much of a commitment, I think, for the on-camera.
And it's 5-6 years later, and the show ends where it's like it's still going right now, and I just find like they'd have to explain why they took a break. The killer took a break for 5 to 6 years.
I'm sorry to report to all the fans. You guys are just gonna have to let it go. I'm so sorry. Somebody tried to get me for Scream the video game, and it never happened. So I'm like, man, good luck.
Yeah. No, I
sorry.
I think it makes sense. I don't think like it's something that's just because of the movies. I would say this to anybody: if there's any ever a time to do it, it's now because of 5. Whether it's possible or not, that's separate. But if there was ever a time in the last 5 years to try,
if I was a producer that had my finger on this TV series, I'd say, let's wait and see how 5 does.
Oh, right, yeah.
And I'd also be going, hey, why aren't we doing this in VR or doing the game?
Yep.
I mean, come on. Can you imagine a multiplayer game where you can choose to be the slasher or the,
Well, and Ghostface is carried on in Dead by Daylight, and there's even fan kind of projects of like Halloween and Scream that do great numbers on YouTube, and those are literally just fan-made projects. They should make a Scream game.
I get hit up on Instagram for guys doing the fan-made content.
Yeah.
And if they offer me enough money, I will lend them my voice for their little project.
There you go.
And it's not a lot of money. It's not my full rate. It's not.
Yeah.
It's a tenth of my full rate.
We'll get a Kickstarter, and we'll try and fund it ourselves. Hey guys, so that's the end of part 1 of this interview. So how I'm going to do it, it was a very, very long interview, longer than I actually maybe imagined it, but maybe I shouldn't have. It's like an hour and a half-ish long. So this first part, 20, 25 minutes was a lot of me asking him stuff. And the second part, which will come up, relatively soon, is going to be all of you. I read every single comment that you guys had given me to ask him. So we're going to do that for a part 2. In the meantime, make sure you guys are, staying tuned here. Also, I'm going to leave his Instagram. He asked me in part 2, I said, do you want to plug anything? So his Instagram, Mike Vaughn's Instagram, is in the description below if you guys want to follow him there. That's kind of the main thing. And yeah, just stay tuned, subscribe, bell icon, and then part 2's coming. It's going to be a lot longer, probably double, triple the time that this one was, but it's all of the stuff that you asked and plus some other stuff as well. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you all on the next video.